We're hearing the result of the American election this morning. Donald Trump looking like he is making his way in again to the Oval Office. In terms of football in the UK, we've seen so much American investment. How much of an impact could this new presidency have?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact is probably likely to be sort of broader on the economic side of things. So the markets in the run-up to this election have been perceiving Trump to be the favourite to win, and therefore likely to be inflationary in terms of his policies, particularly things like tariffs. Now, if we have an inflationary environment, that is likely to make the reduction of interest rates that are ongoing slower and possibly even start to tick back up. Now, the impact of high interest rates on football are clear where you talk about the number of clubs that are funded by debt. And that's particularly true where teams are building stadiums and have other lending. So we know that, a number of clubs have got pretty substantial debt to third parties. Anybody from Chelsea on one side, Spurs, obviously, although Spurs' debt is largely fixed in terms of its interest rates, Manchester United, and of course United on top of that if they were to build a stadium. So it would have a very serious impact if interest rates were to stay at these sorts of levels throughout the next 4 years. And so I think that would be the biggest impact on English football generally. There's two sides to it, but look, we're on the first day. It's literally just happened. But I do think that the markets are saying interest rates higher for longer, and that is an issue for really not just English sport, but the European game. We know that is now becoming the cost of debt is becoming an issue across Europe.
And Ben, as Stefan mentioned there, there is a mix in terms of the donations put forward by some of the names that we know of in UK football. Avram Glazer reportedly donates to Harris. Edward Glazer donated $2 million to Trump. John Textor has donated to the Republicans in the past. Dan Friedkin as well, coming in at Everton, has backed the Republicans too. So there does seem to be a mix in terms of the support and which kind of government they feel would be best for the US and potentially best for their interests.
If we remove sport in America, international sport and Trump should coexist just fine, because some of these investors he's in with, as Stefan's already said, some of them have backed him. And then if you look at global sport, Trump is a firm supporter, for example, of Live Golf. And therefore you would expect them and their organisers and their politicians and their officials, because it goes all the way up to someone like Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the Newcastle United chair. The expectation is that these kinds of people will be quite glad to see Trump coming back into power. So domestic sport, question mark, World Cup probably okay, and international sport, a lot of them that have affiliations with the US government or Trump might be quite glad to see him back in power.
Well, as Stefan says, it is day one, so we will see how it all plays out across his presidency.